authority in South Africa has dismissed more than 50 immigration officials found to be involved in corrupt activities at ports of entry across the country. BMA Commissioner Michael Masiapato says a further 38 immigration officials are currently under investigation. The affected ports of entry include Beitbridge Border Post, Lebombo Border Post and Oshoek Border Post, as well as Maseru Bridge Border Post and the OR Tambo International Airport. And to unpack this for us, we are joined on the line by Dr. Vusimuzi Sibanda, President of the African Diaspora Forum. Dr. Sibanda, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to the listeners and viewers.
Now, do we know what kinds of corrupt activities these immigration officials were involved in, and how long had these activities been taking place before they were uncovered?
Well, look, at the moment, what we know obviously would include what we had, from the Special Investigative Unit report, about the visas that were being sold, and also what we have, gleaned from the Commissioner's, report that talks about also the visas, the days that are being sold and people being allowed, to enter unlawfully in the country. So obviously these have got mainly to do with, the coming in of people that obviously come in when they're not supposed to be coming in because their 90 days have obviously expired and are not supposed to come in anymore. And so it actually, deals with the trading, of days for money, with the officials and those at the offices of also in the other port of entry, dealing with probably allowing visas that are not supposed to, come into the country or that are probably fraudulent to come in.
Are criminal charges likely to follow these dismissals?
Well, I think so. Obviously, from what we have had, we've heard that, some criminal charges were preferred in some of those people that were, dismissed. And I think, we've read about somebody that was sentenced for quite a number of years already, after they'd been found to be trading, in visas. And I think it only follows, logic, because that's what the Immigration Act provides for, that if anybody is found to be facilitating the unlawful entry and remaining of people into the country, they will obviously be, charged. That is in terms of, the Immigration Act. I think that will be about Section 49 or subsection 15 and 16 thereabouts.
And let's speak about just the impact of corruption at ports of entry. What does this have, the impact of it on the border security of any country?
Look, unfortunately, the impact, of these unlawful, actions and corruption is that, you end up having a lot of people that are not supposed to be in the country, and that some of them might even be, committing crime. And in the event that these people have committed crime, they are not easy, to trace, because these people, they do not have their information captured or known to be within the country. That is as far as, crime is concerned. But you also further look at the fact that if people are coming into the country and residing, obviously without the country knowing where they are residing and who they are, even the provision of services, which is why we have had a lot of people complaining that service delivery becomes a problem and a challenge, because if, for example, say, a certain number, 10,000 or 50,000 of these people live in a particular community and they are not provided for. What it essentially means is that, when services are to be provided for in that particular community, the government plans for a lesser number of people, when in fact there is more people, living in that particular in that particular community. So also what it means is that, there is under, provision, of services required because of the fact that people are not accounted for. And again, there is the burden, that is created, obviously when people are then also further maybe employed, when they are being taken advantage of by employers, like what we have learned, especially in some of these, general, industries, where a lot of people, like in construction, are then employed, but they're not documented and they are not paid, proper, wages or salaries. And, trade unions also find it difficult to bargain because employers don't feel that there is a pressure to bargain when they've albeit the fact that it is in violation of the Immigration Act.
Now, what measures should be put in place just to prevent corruption in the future?
Well, look, I think the important thing is to make sure that, the law is applied to its, full extent, especially insofar as all those people that are found to be committing these corrupt activities, are concerned, which includes, the migrant individuals themselves that are involved in this corruption, the officials and the employers. Now, the trend has always been that there are too many migrants that are arrested for violating the Immigration Act, but those people that they are committing these crimes with, or that are in collusion. For example, we've seen issues that deal with children being transported, the transport and so forth, but we've not gotten to know exactly the extent to which, these people have been sanctioned. So I think because the law is very clear about what needs to be done, and of course we have seen, we've had the Department of Labor, I think in a couple of weeks back, where they say that the employers were to be charged about 10,000, for employing people that are not properly documented or that are irregular. And obviously there's been an outcry that that is not enough for employers and it is not enough of a deterrent. So I think the issue is to look at the level of sanctioning, as we have seen, on the irregular migrants themselves, when we have seen some being sentenced to as far as 2 years, in prison. I think commensurate, measures, or sentences that are going to be a deterrent would actually be assistive, because the law and the framework is already there.
Now, before we have run out of time, but I have to ask you, just in 15 seconds, how serious is this issue for South Africa's immigration system and international reputation?
Well, it is very serious, obviously, because South Africa is attracting a lot of people, because of its the strength of its economy. But again, the issue of the documents. Remember, South Africa has been banned by quite a number of countries because its documents have always been used, by people working at the department sells these passports, and people use the passports to go to other countries. So people are now skeptical, or other countries are skeptical. That really has soured relations with, other international partners or countries.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Sibanda, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update.
Only a pleasure. Thank you. Good afternoon.
And to you too. That's Dr. Vusimuzi Sibanda, the president of the African Diaspora Forum, joining us on the line.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. Africa